rewiring your fear of being wrong. Now, this fear really stems from, man, this fear goes back. It goes way back. All right, it goes way back. So, hey guys, if you're in my organization personally, if you are in Prime, I need you to blow up that Discord, and I need you to let the people know they need to be on the session. So, the fear of being wrong, where could this come from? Because I think what's important is I think you need to understand the root of your behaviors. You need to understand the root of the way you think. So, hold up, give me 1 second, guys. So when you rewire your fear of being wrong, you do want to ask yourself, where does this come from? Why do I have a fear of being wrong? Because I think when we can reverse engineer our fears, then that's when you can rewire so that you can be much better. Or you can understand them. So I think once you understand them, then you can start to alter it, right? Then you can start to not be a victim of your fears. You can be aware of them, and then you can have absolute power over them. So the fear of being wrong specifically, I think this comes from just our traditional schooling system. So the traditional, at least let me rephrase that, the traditional American schooling system, because I can't speak for other countries, but in the US, you are judged based on your ability to be right most often. The grading system that allows you to go to the next year, to advance in schooling, to go to whatever colleges, universities, what allows you to then get a certificate that proves that you have passed their test. All of that is based on your ability of being right most often. So it's a matter of frequency. Like, how frequently are you right? And that's how you're measured, right? That's how you are either successful or not in this schooling, in the modern American schooling system. So, with that being said, if you are on this call right now, you are at least 18 years old, which means that you've been in the schooling system anywhere from 12 to 13 years. So imagine 13 years of your life, you're being programmed to fear being wrong. That's if you care about passing or getting good grades, which not everybody does, but on average, people care. Here's the thing. You have to ask, okay, well, why was it important that I'm right most often in school system? Because the idea of the school system is to train you to follow instructions. It's to train you to memorize and regurgitate. Okay, so that's the plan. That's why they're measuring. So why are they measuring my frequency of being right compared to being wrong? Well, they want to know that you can follow instructions, that you're able to, remember things, at least for a short period of time. So now we need to ask yourselves, is that necessary with trading? Is it necessary to be right all the time to be successful in day trading? Is it necessary to be right every time to be successful in investing long-term in crypto? Do I always need to be right to be successful in the NFT space? And so you can start to see why these things, we're not playing the same game. If you want to pass school, that's the game you have to play, is being right more often than not. But if you want to pass, the market, it's not about being right or wrong most often. It's about risk to reward. That's it. So the reason these games are different because you're either right or you're wrong in school, but here, how much you receive for being right is very different than being wrong. That's why this is a different game. Variables are a little bit different. Because when think about it, when you were, taking a test, when you're wrong, -1. When you're right, +1. Here, when you're wrong, -1. But when you're right, it can be +5. It can be +10. It can be +100. So they're not, the weight is not the same. The weight of being right versus being wrong is not the same. And that changes everything. That changes absolutely everything. So today we're going to talk about what can we be doing? What can we be doing? How do I rewire myself? In this case. So this might be the number one thing that's stopping you from being consistent right now in the markets, right? I'm going to give you guys something that in a couple of days you probably change the way you look at it. But a lot of times we have this fear of being wrong, and that's what actually makes you make a bad decision, and your losses may have a heavier weight than they needed to. Right? Your fear of being wrong is why you don't place a stop loss sometimes. Your fear of being wrong is why you move your stop loss sometimes. And then all of a sudden you're doing things that then shift a variable that shouldn't be changed, which is the losses. Your losses should stay the same. Only your wins should go from a minimum to, way more. So the number one thing that's stopping you is yourself, right? It's our own minds. Our beliefs. Those are the things that get in our way more than anything. We got a whole bunch of BS that we need to get figured out, right? Belief systems. I think Jim Quick said that today at an NFT week that we were at earlier. So of course you need a good trading plan. You need to follow risk management. You need to do the classics. Those are essential. But at the end of the day, we have all the power. And sometimes it's limiting beliefs that are stopping us from executing when we need to execute. So you can have amazing strategy. You can have incredible risk management. But if your belief systems are wrong, if you have certain fears like being wrong, that's going to haunt your potential. So the question is, what are beliefs, right? What are beliefs and why do I do things the way that I do them? So the most basic level, beliefs are patterns. Like they're the patterns of longevity. So this can be a lot of different things, whether it's your confidence, whether it's your commitment, right? This can be based on a whole lot of different things, but we use beliefs to understand and to navigate this world. And then certain beliefs lead to certain behaviors, certain actions. So our beliefs they're formed to keep us safe. And that's why we usually look to preserve them after they're set up, because it's like a guard. So beliefs usually come from two different places, pain or pleasure. And these happen, from when you're really, really young. But of course, these can always, new beliefs can either be evolved, beliefs can be evolved, or they can be, created. And usually the only way that beliefs change are based on some sort of emotional impact. So a lot of people have this belief that failure is bad. Now, there's definitely moments of failure that we go through, but that doesn't mean that you have to become a failure. You can go through failure without becoming a failure. Easy as that. This belief that failure is bad is usually a big reason why you might not be progressing the way you can be. Because this belief that failure is bad, that translates into the fear of being wrong, which is 100% going to affect your experience in trading. And what this does is that, man, it takes away the power of a losing trade, because losing trades, they carry intel. Losing trades, they teach you more than winning trades. Right? Losing trades give you experience. But if you have this fear, you're going to rob yourself of the experience because you just don't want to be wrong. So look, we need to embrace this. Being wrong, because the market's going to do that to you. Especially when you least expect it. So you can't just stop. But feel bad about being wrong, right? So being wrong creates discomfort, usually some sort of pain, judgment, impulsive behavior. And that's only because we, a lot of times, beliefs that failure is bad is just stronger than you understanding that losses are part of the game. So sometimes, you get, okay, losing is good because it teaches me, whatever. It shows you what doesn't work. But sometimes what the problem is that your belief that failure is bad is stronger than your knowledge that losses are part of the game. So sometimes what you have to do is you have to build this mindset where what comes from losing weighs way more than what comes from then that failure is bad. So once you realize, okay, you know what? I believe much more, that there's benefits in this and that they're part of the game than it is that failure is bad. So how do you disempower these, belief systems that don't help us? So here's what you do. You keep trading, and you build a list of positive experiences. And then over time, that fear of being wrong could kind of start to go away. But again, I want you guys to be proactive. So how do you get proactive about this fear of being wrong? So number one, you're going to recognize the positive intent. Because here's the thing, your brain wants to protect you. Right? Your brain wants to protect you. So typically your belief that failure is bad comes from when you're a kid, right? Like we just talked about. So when you went through that first experience of being wrong, of failing, your brain starts forming a pattern of, anxiety, fear, defensiveness, and that looks to keep you away from experiencing that kind of pain again. Same thing, it's a lot of reasons why sometimes parents, they make a big mistake by forming, because some people, it's how you react to things. So one thing that maybe some of you will connect with, but when kids are around water, like when babies, toddlers are around water, a lot of parents freak out. They're tripping. And so these little kids, they start developing a fear of water because of the way that the parents are responding, the way that they're reacting, right? That kind of energy. So then all of a sudden, kid's 5 years old, you throw him into a pool, and he's tweaking. He's tripping. Why? Because you have been subconsciously telling the kid to be scared of water for 3 years, 4 years. Meanwhile, babies, by nature, they can swim. Maybe you didn't know that. They're born with the ability to swim. But our fears, the parents' fears, confuse them. So they don't know how to act. So remember, you have to recognize the positive intent. So your mind is just doing its best to stop you from feeling even worse. So all right, recognize the positive intent. You can't just think it, really feel it. Feel the gratitude. Maybe thank your brain out loud for doing its best to keep you safe. So even though it's a little bit, doesn't really know what it wants, when you acknowledge it, it'll give you that peace of mind. So when you start to fear being wrong and you're like, oh no, I can't be wrong here. That's where, imagine you just go, all right, you know what? Yeah, I appreciate it, brain. Good looks. Thanks for, looking out. But I gotta do this thing. I gotta go ahead and take this on. Now, second thing you can do is form a new association. So remember, beliefs usually come from, pain or pleasure. So now you got to shift that belief, and you need to create a new association, a brand new association. 1 second, guys. I'm gonna turn on this fan. Boy's heating up over here. So, how do you create this new association? How do we shift this belief? So you gotta associate either a whole bunch of pain. So what you need to do is to associate a tremendous amount of pain to not changing that belief, meaning you need to associate a ton of pain to wanting to be right. So a few years ago, for example, we got to talk about why it's important to be right. So, okay, being wrong or refusing to be wrong, it locks you into bad trades. Okay, you don't want to be wrong. Don't want to make this mistake because it'll lock me into bad trades. It affects my income. It makes you hesitate on when to pull the trigger. It makes you exit good trades too early. It affects your mindset. So first things first, you want to understand, okay, wait, why do I want to eliminate? Right? Why do I want to give focus towards not being this person? So you need to find the strongest leverage out. So you need to remember, you need to underline the number one thing that really hurts when you have this mindset of fear of being wrong. So then you want to go through the pleasure. So what happens if you do change, right? If you do change, if all of a sudden you no longer have a fear of being wrong, well, what are the good things that come with that? Maybe you'll have consistent income. Maybe you'll get to quit your day job that you hate so much. Maybe you can, you really feel like you'll feel like that well-respected trader. So now you have a really strong pain principle, which is the fact that, like, you know what, I can't keep this fear of being wrong because it's affecting my income. I'm hesitating with trades. And then you have the pleasures, right, which are like, if I do eliminate this fear of being wrong, all right, awesome, I can generate income. I might be able to quit my day job. Who knows? Maybe I'll become whatever. So whatever your reasons, right, now you know what's going on. And that's something that you can do, maybe once a day, or while you're getting used to this fear. If you know you have this fear, start to do that. Okay, cool. Here's why I can't have this fear of being wrong. Here's all the good things that happens when, I don't have this anymore. So the third step really of this, because remember we talked about the first step really is recognize the positive intent. So one, I should probably make this a little smaller. Two, we talked about forming new associations. Three is reprogramming. You have to reprogram yourself. So after you take a loss, usually you're like, oh man, it sucks. I shouldn't have gotten into that trade. The market, whatever. So whatever, you start playing some sort of sob story in your head on why this sucks, or you feel discouraged or whatever. So you gotta notice these doubts, right? You gotta notice these fears. So here's what happens, right? So when let's say you took a loss, right? Here is what you can happen sometimes, right? Mentally. As soon as something like that happens, you look at the event, you interpret the event, and then you look to find meaning off of what just happened based on what you know. Then you have some sort of emotion based on what happened, and then you react to that emotion. And then you keep reinforcing and perpetuating that same pattern. So then you're going to notice that you're going to go, oh my God, like here it is. I'm seeing this. I'm noticing that I'm breaking down what's going on. And then now I can see this emotion. So you have to start noticing. So here's where you get a little bit more proactive about changing a belief, right? This belief of being wrong. So for this fear of failure, if you do this exercise, it's going to start to help quite a bit. Right? You just have to be aware of it. You have to recognize the positive intent, form new associations, and then start to reprogram. So think and say the opposite. Literally think and say the opposite. And I'll say this, the fear of being wrong really comes from a lot of different places. But I think most of the reason why, and I bring this up because it's such a consistently relevant thing. But yeah, we grade ourselves on the wrong ideas. And then we feel this added pressure because we think about, oh man, I'm not where I should be, instead of thinking about how much I've come and where it is that I'm going. So when it comes down to this fear of being wrong, if you flip your fear of being wrong to acceptance that you will be wrong, all of a sudden your whole world is kind of flipped upside down, right? So if you flip the fear of being wrong to acceptance that you'll be wrong, all right, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I will be wrong, huh? But what happens is now you can afford to be wrong, because when you're right, obviously it's got a much bigger payout, but you're building up experience. So when you shift, all of a sudden your world transformed, paradigm shift happens, and when you shift your feeling, you shift the actions that you take. And when you shift the actions, then obviously everything else changes. So more than anything, you gotta just accept it. You gotta just accept it. I'm gonna be wrong. But then it's worth it. Like, you have to understand what it's worth. When you understand what it's worth, oh, we are good. So, yeah, there's just some things when it comes down to being wrong that you guys can implement. I don't know if there's any questions or if any feedback here. But, yeah, I'm happy you guys are plugged into this. Something simple, because I think a lot of times people talk about something, but then it's like, okay, well, what do I do? How do I change this? And so what I say is, I'll say this, guys: don't race against the clock. Like, you can't beat the clock. You can't beat the clock. Only thing that you gotta be playing against is the latest version of you. That's the only thing. Once you have that, man, you're good. Because you're just detached. You get so detached from what it is that you need to be doing. You get detached from what it is that you need to have. Or I need to have this. I need to make this amount. It's like, no, you don't. It says who? Why? I want to give you guys an approach or a perspective, especially if you want to think about it in terms of time. If you look at your trading career, your investing career, all sorts of careers, right? If you look at this way, this might help. So when you go to college, usually, I say the average, actually we can look it up here, right? What's the average student debt? Average student loan debt, about $39,000. So we'll say about $40,000. Over 2.6 million. This is wild. I need to look at this. This is crazy. Sheesh. So the average student loan debt is $40,000. Now, I don't know if that's a year or total, but 43 million people have student loans and whatever. So, okay. So we'll do this, right? So let's say it's the total amount after 4 years. So after 4 years of college, people have $40,000 in debt, and you are not promised any sort of salary. It's like, go figure it out, right? Okay, so average salary for student who graduates with bachelor's. So the median starting salary for college graduates is $47,000, but that's not us. That's not the a specific number. These numbers are everywhere. Let's see here. The average starting salary for the graduating class of 2020 is $55,000. Median. Okay, so let's say but that isn't how many people get a job. That's another question now. What percentage of graduates are employed? Only 50% of the class of 2020 had full-time jobs. Okay, so cool. Now I'm going to give you guys perspective. Why am I doing all this? So there's a 50-50 shot, 50-50, right? Percent chance that you get employed. So 50% of college class of 2020 had traditional full-time jobs 6 months after graduation. Okay. So 4 years later, so you give yourself 4 years. And then after you give yourself 4 years, you have $40K in debt, and there's a 50-50 chance that after 6 months you'll have a job. But if you do, you'll make $55K a year, $50K a year. So look at now imagine your journey right now. Look at your current trading journey and ask yourself, am I looking at where I am now? So if I were, most college students give themselves 4 years. During those 4 years, they go negative 40K. And then they start making 50K a year. Maybe there's a 50-50 chance 6 months later you're making 50K a year. And it's not like that 50K is going to go straight to your student loan debt. No. Because most people are irresponsible and they start getting liabilities. So, question is, where are you right now? Have you even gone through your freshman year yet? Have you even gone through your sophomore year yet? Most people don't even make it to their to the bachelor's in trading. Most people don't graduate with their bachelor's in trading, and that's exactly why they never made money. If you've made $1 of profit after 4 years of trading, you're ahead. It's that simple. If you've made $1 of profits after 4 years of trading, you are ahead now. And the thing is that you don't know. What happened? You get your master's degree? Oh, now you're 6 years. Imagine 6 years of this. Average salary for student for master's. 70K a year? 70K a year. So what's 70K a year? 70K over 52. What the heck? Okay. Okay. About $1,400, $1,350 a week. How do you make $1,350 a week with a trading account? All I'm saying, I'm giving you guys examples. From if you give yourself 6 years, could you build an account that could make you more than that? a week, $13.50. I'll give you an example. If you have a $25,000 account and you do, let's just say 0.05%, that's $12.50, 5% a week. And I know you guys know how to work with, your own money. You guys, like, how much you... So, all I'm saying is that if you get to a point, even in 4 years, right, where you're making $50K a year, which comes back down to after taxes is basically like $1,000 a week. Way less than that, actually, after taxes, but we'll just say $1,000 a week. That doesn't include all this crazy debt. You're ahead of the game. Way ahead of the game. Some of you have been doing this for 2 months and you're already like, I don't understand why I'm not getting it. It's like, dude, you graduated from college and you still don't get it. But you won't give yourself time here. So I'm just giving you perspective so you can let go of the fears of being wrong. This is the moment. Your first whole year you can be a disaster in trading, but you have to just acknowledge and be aware of all the disasters that you're doing so you don't repeat those behaviors. As long as you're not 40K in debt 4 years later after trading, you're beating 99% of people in the world.